Hello and welcome to In the Art Scene podcast, a place where creatives share their stories. My name is Galina Marquez, and I have another cool story prepared for you today, so let's get to it. Hello everybody and welcome back to In the Art Scene podcast. We're having another interesting artist today. His name is Key Dyer, which is, there's a cool story about your name that I think you will share.
Yeah, actually, my real name is Jordan Dyer, but my middle name is Key. And growing up, it was a name that I just was like, why did you give me that weird middle name? You know what I mean? People always are like, oh, is it like a door? Or is it like a key in a lock? And like, or they don't believe me until I pull out my ID.
It didn't sit right with you?
Yeah, and so I just felt weird, like self-conscious about it, because everyone else had like, James was their middle name or something like more standard. And then as I got older and was starting to think about the whole art, like really jumping into the art thing like I did in 2017, I was like, I'm going to take that name and just kind of own it and put it up front. You know what I mean?
Embrace your weirdness.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Use something that like I didn't like and then make it just its own thing. And it has turned into its own thing. And now I think of it completely different. So
it's totally cool name. It's totally cool artist name. Do you know why your parents chose that as a middle name for you? Was there a backstory?
Actually. Yeah. So we have on my dad's side of the family, now I forget the exact historical significance of it, but there was a relative named George Key, and he owned a ranch in the San Luis Obispo area of California. So again, I should know more about why it was important, but there's like a historical landmark, the George Key Ranch, that my dad has just always told me we're related to this person, and why it popped up 4 generations later in my middle name, I don't know. Maybe just so I could use it as my art name, but yeah,
that's really cool.
Some random history in there.
That's really cool. Well, I cannot say anything like that about my family history, so that's definitely something.
I mean, yeah, and again, I don't even know. I just know that there's like those little pamphlets for it. If you go to certain places like near Yosemite, they'll be like, go to the George Key Ranch. So
you have never, yeah, you have to, absolutely.
Yeah.
You should.
My namesake.
Right. All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself and about your art. What kind of style of art you're doing, and where are you right now? Where are you from?
Okay. So I'm in the Bay Area. I'm a little bit north of San Jose. I'm literally like in the heart of Silicon Valley. Like if you map out where Apple is and Google is, like my city is right in the center, and they're all like surrounding. So I live near a bunch of Teslas. Let me think.
How does it feel to live in that kind of environment?
It can be stressful. Just because there's a lot of new people moving here just for work versus the people who have been here, forever, like my parents, where they were here, from when they were born on, and it was like orchards and like nothing out here, to it really becoming Silicon Valley. And there's a little bit of tension between like, the old hippies and then like the new Silicon Valley money. But for the most part, it's good because we get the trickle down of all of the money coming in here. So like every school that I went to growing up has been remodeled, so I can't go back and see like my old schools. They've all been given this new Apple money, and they're built up and have nice tech centers and all that stuff. So, so that's a good thing. We definitely see that. But then, yeah, you get, I don't want to use any swear words, but you get the Tesla a-holes who just kind of like hog the road, or like think they can swerve in front of you or look at you weird because you walk by their car and it has a camera looking at you. Anyways, that's just me. That's just me whining.
So, what does it do to the art scene in your area? Because well, San Francisco is quite artsy area, very kind of like free spirited, open minded. But I wonder that, living in the middle of, like, literally in the middle of Silicon Valley and having all that stuff, infrastructure wise, yeah, it might be cool because everything is being remodeled. Um, there are new services, new schools, whatever. But what does it do to a creative community? How does that
Yeah,
feel?
so I have found that there's kind of two sides to it, kind of like you find in any big city. There's the really municipal side of the art where people are getting, murals or the electrical boxes that they'll have people paint and, big installation type sculptures for these big campuses. So, and those tend to be shopped out. I mean, maybe some of the murals will be by local artists, but in general, the sculpture and all that stuff tends to be these, good for them, but not somebody local. But then, more where I come from, there's like the street art side of things. So you'll have a lot of people just going to the streets and using that as their museum, anyways. Like, hey, if you're not going to let me put my art up somewhere, I'm going to put it up. I can't tell you how many times I've walked around and seen people, they take like a nut and a bolt and they'll nail their own like wooden artwork to a telephone pole or something like that, to a stop sign, something. People will get their art out there. Sometimes I mean, I guess I kind of think of graffiti as derogatory, but sometimes it is just, people tagging their neighborhood or something like that. But then sometimes you get these like beautiful pieces that people put up, and they're colorful and they're vibrant and they've got all this, like, they're well thought out. And then, the next day the city comes and paints it over with some whitewash something or other. Um, so there's a lot of creative energy here, and a lot of it ends up in the streets and in smaller communities. Um, but like you were saying, we also do have our SF MoMAs. We have the Stanford college museums over here, which are crazy. I spend so much time over there just sitting looking at stuff. So um, yeah, I mean, and then as far as what the money does to that, and the infrastructure of having, a little, well, a lot more money in the area, is maybe in a selfish way, I've found that I can charge what I feel my paintings are worth, and people will generally pay for it. You know what I mean? If I get it in front of the right people. I've done a few private shows for tech companies where I have my art up, and that stuff will move because it's more of a novel thing when you're an artist presenting in a corporate space versus you're an artist at a convention filled with artists and booth by booth by booth by booth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so that's at least one way I've found that it's a benefit. But then on the other end, if you're not making the art that those people want to buy, you might be kind of SOL, and like stuck to doing those lower things. Not 100%, but that's just something I've noticed.
So is there a particular type of art that those people are buying, or what do you find about this? And then
That's
how
a
and,
that
and how
that,
and how
that
do
is
you
a good
how do you
follow up question.
yeah, and how do you feel about other artists? Do they fall into that trap of creating something that would sell because they are in this convenient market, or do most of them actually just follow whatever they feel like?
I'd say there's a very strong, independent, quirky side to the Bay Area where most artists I know are just gonna do whatever they want to do. And if people catch on to it and it becomes a trend later, that's fine. But if not, they're gonna find the places to sell it and to have it work. And that's also another great thing about being in such a big, you know, the Bay Area is huge. So like, you can go to any of these little pocket communities And you're going to find people who are doing what you're doing or appreciate what you're doing. Um, as opposed to if you lived out in, in the sticks in Minnesota, you might not find another abstract expressionist friend. You know what I mean? Whereas like I can find someone in Oakland and drive there 40 minutes away or whatever. Um, as far as, I can't say that there's one type of art that really like, or at least one style that's across the board, but I am noticing a lot of photography is being like the blown up, put like digital prints, which are beautiful and everything. Um, but because people will use their iPhones and stuff and get those real cool macro shots,
Mm-hmm.
we're getting a lot of these interesting large pieces of it's like the inside of a bell pepper,
Mm-hmm.
the little ribs of a mushroom, and it'll be super blown up. And then because of the technology that it was created on, sometimes people are like, whoa, I have this huge piece of art in my house that was designed on an iPhone. You know what I mean? So
Got
I
it.
definitely
Got
see a
it.
trend of that.
Got it. So someone who's from Apple will probably appreciate something like that.
Oh,
That's
yeah. Oh, yeah.
got it. Yeah. All right. So what kind of style do you do?
So me, I that's always the question that stumps me. I would say I do a lot
Yeah,
of
you're not alone. Trust me.
right. It's like I almost feel like I need to ask someone else, like, what do you think I do? Okay, that's probably it. I do sticker art. Um, I mean, I have my examples here, so I'd like and we'll talk about it more later using
Yeah,
these.
and I will because this is a podcast, we don't have a visual, but I will put all of
Okay,
those
okay,
in on the blog post so people can see what it is.
okay,
Yeah.
beautiful. I wasn't sure just because we were doing the Zoom meeting if it was going to be visual or not. That's perfect. Um, so yeah, I do a lot of work on
I mean, you can still show them
priority.
to me.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
I'm,
Well, I
I'm
mean,
here.
yeah. This is like my very Ezra like colorful one with my black line work. Um, then sometimes I'll have the longer collaboration ones where I do with other people where someone will start a priority mail sticker and then they kind of have a theme with it. I mean, the one I'm showing you right now is what my God, what were those things called? Chia pets.
Chia pets.
Yeah,
Never
I
heard
don't
of
know
it.
if you ever remembered the chia pets. Like it would be these ceramic figures, like it'd be like Bob Ross's face, and you'd spread these chia seeds all over his head, and then it would grow
Oh
into like
yeah.
his
Oh yeah.
afro. Or they did them with like Obama or like Garfield.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Anyways,
yeah, yeah. Now I know what you're talking about.
so yeah, that's
That's
like the theme of this one. I'll send you pictures, but so I do a lot of work on priority mail stickers. Tends to be character based, cartoon based, sometimes letter based. I have, like my big block letters that I'll go out and do with all these other people who do like the crazy, wild style of graffiti out there. Um, but yeah, a lot of my inspiration for my style comes from 90s cartoons, which is, I mean, I'm a 1990 baby. So that whole decade plus just really saturated my mind as far as The Simpsons, South Park,
yeah, yeah,
later
yeah.
on Family
Yeah.
Guy. These are all the classics, but there's even like little smaller Nickelodeon shows that it's like, I just remember staring at the colors and thinking, how do you get the colors that flat and clean and opaque? Because whenever I would color with crayon, I'd be like, there's holes, there's white space, there's like, it's not flat like I want it to be. Um, so yeah, I've kind of been chasing that as an artist, like recreating cartoon memories. Um, but
That's pretty
then,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I gotta ask you here though. Uh, and you know that was one of my questions when we initially set up this recording,
Hmm.
that we're going to talk about the sticker art. But for everyone who's listening, it's not. I assume it's not really obvious because, like, to me, it was not obvious that this is even a thing. That you are you are creating a piece of art on the USPS priority mail sticker. It was not really like, to me, I didn't know such thing existed as
Hmm.
sticker art.
Yeah.
Live alone that this is a actually collaborative work.
Yeah.
So it's not
Yeah.
like you are just getting a bunch of stickers and doing it by yourself. You're
Hmm.
communicating with artists who are, I mean, I assume can be from anywhere, and
Yeah. Oh,
you're
yeah.
you're
It's
passing those stickers.
international,
So you're sending
international for
those
sure.
stickers out to each other, and everyone kind of adds to the chain. So
Yeah.
how does it, like, if you can tell a little bit of the kind of a background story where the
Yeah.
whole thing started, or at
Yeah.
least how you got involved, and how does this work?
Yeah. Well, here's where I get to flex my art history degree a little. Not that we learned about this, but like this is the kind of stuff that I love um, learning about. So as far as the stickers, sticker art itself, um, from what I've researched, a big chunk of it came out of the 80s when people, when tagging and like people would be on the subways on the East Coast and stuff, they'd be tagging everything with their names and their street addresses. Eventually, someone got the idea to put their little tag on a sticker so they could just stick it and walk away. So originally it was for expediency, but then yeah, I want to say it was either the late 80s or the 90s. Um, are you aware of Shepard Fairey? Like he does the
Mhm.
Obey, the Andre the Giant, has a posse. He has all these very like iconic graffiti works.
Yeah,
But he,
you gotta keep in mind that I'm also an 80s and 90s baby, but I grew up in a different country, so
oh, okay, well, yeah, fair
some of
enough.
it is a new art history for me as well. So
Okay, so Shepard Fairey, you might know. Have you seen that Obama, the Hope poster?
uh-huh.
He's the guy who did that.
Okay.
So it was one of his like first projects in the late 80s. He was kind of just like a little street punk. He had these stenciled looking stickers that just said Andre the Giant has a posse. And it had like his height and weight on it and this like, you know, black and white picture of him. So what he would do would he would send them to people across the country. So all of a sudden across the country, there's this kind of viral marketing campaign for Obey and Andre the Giant has a posse. And that was another big kind of like catalyst for the sticker scene in general. Um, and then as far as where I came into it, um, so there's a group, and I hope I don't get this wrong. They're either based out of Philadelphia or New York City, and they're called the Sticky Bandits, which is a play on the Wet Bandits.
Home Alone, yeah.
Home Alone. Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So they're the Sticky Bandits, and there's a few characters in that. They're um, an artist named Bob Will Rain, another artist named El Toro. I'm forgetting a bunch, but they started just plastering the city with their images, and they would use these priority mail stickers because you can get them for free. Literally, like I have thousands in my closet. You can get them from the post office. You just send in how many you want. They send you bricks of them. I mean, even if you just go into the post office, you can grab a little stack full. And I didn't bring any blank ones, but they have a lot of free white space on them. So it just kind of became a way to get free stickers. And then people started adding their characters onto them and sending them to other people who are into it. I My story of how I got into it, um, I was doing this bird character that I do, and I was just doing it on canvases and sheets of paper. And actually, an artist from this sticker scene, um, his name's Icky, but he's not really around anymore. I haven't seen him. But shout out to him if he's listening. He messaged me and said, "Hey, we should collab." And I didn't really know about this sticker community at the time. So I go through his page, I start seeing all this incredible artwork that he's done collabing with people. And I'm just like, first, I was honored that he wanted to work with me. And then second, I was just blown away by this community, and how strong and like deep it seemed, you know? Um, and so, yeah, so he sent me stuff. I sent him stuff. We worked together. And then from there, it just kind of snowballed. You start messaging people, hey, I like your work. Would you be interested in working together? I mean, usually me, I offer to buy something first. I say, hey, is there something, some way I can support you? And then also, would you like to collaborate? Just because I know how that is being asked for freebies. Um, and most people are very cool about it. They want to work together. They'll have stacks of stuff that they've worked on, and previously finished or are working on that they'll send your way. And yeah, you just keep it going. So it's really, I can't tell you how many awesome friends I've made in the past 5 years doing stickers, and turned
I
them into real life friends where we meet up and find places so we can go draw together and all that. Yeah.
I kind of can relate to it because that's what this podcast is doing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made and I've been doing it for a little over a year, and I
Uh-huh.
already have met so many incredible people, and yeah,
See, it's like,
I haven't met any in person yet because I started in the middle of pandemic,
mhm.
but that's the goal going forward to get in person
Oh
with a
yeah.
lot of people. Yeah, it's amazing. So speaking of which, like people are from everywhere, from around the world.
Mhm.
What was the farthest in terms of distance, like geographically, that
Ooh,
you have collaborated?
that
Like who?
collaborated.
Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, I just sent some stuff out to France not
Okay.
too long ago. I sent stuff down to Brazil.
That's really cool.
Um, shoot, dang it, Thailand. I want to say
Wow.
Thailand is for me. I'm terrible at geography, but I want to say for me that's the most like far off. Like, whoa, my art's gonna be a collab with someone, and they're gonna put it up in Thailand. Like, that was kind of crazy for me. You know,
That's really
E-
cool.
every once in a while I'll get tagged in something like, oh, here's your someone found your sticker in Texas or Arkansas or some weird place I haven't been. But then when I get ones that are like, somewhere in Italy, I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. And the fact that people would even recognize it enough to tag me, that's super
So
cool.
you don't put your signature on it, or
I mean, sometimes I do, but sometimes I like to let my character kind of be the signature itself. Off sometimes the like my little key signature will be worked
Mhm.
into the design itself, but yeah, more often than not, it's just either my skull or my bird character, and I kind of like Mickey Mouse. You know what I mean? I don't want to have someone to have to sign Disney next to it. They just want them to know.
That's a really cool, that's a really cool way of getting exposure, and it's a really cool thing of uh like I guess what I'm trying to say is you're not showing off, but at the same time you're recognizing people who are really really familiar with what you do.
Right.
And it is incredible to get the messages from all over the world, like, hey, I found your art over there.
Oh my God. Yeah. I feel like a rock star for sure.
Yeah. Let's take a short coffee break. Are you enjoying this episode? If you do, would you buy me a coffee? I would really appreciate it. The link is in the show notes and on our website, intheartscene.com. Thank you for your support. The question that I have from here is like people display those stickers somehow. So there's the end point of the collaboration, and then it's being displayed somewhere, or they're how's like how do other people see that?
Get to see them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will say a lot of people getting to see them is through the Instagram and reposting and stuff. There are several touring art shows. There's one called Going Postal that does different iterations throughout the year where you send them in your postal label stickers. They create these huge, door size frames where they put up individual stickers all side by side, and they take over little art spaces across the country, at least West Coast and East Coast, where they'll display rooms and rooms full of these stickers. But I think the more organic and, I guess, the more desired thing within the community would be that when something is finished, or whenever someone decides it's finished, because I've sent out stickers that I started the collab, 4 years ago, and even like now I'll get tagged in something and suddenly 15 people are added to it, and I'm like, oh, okay, so
Wow.
you guys still don't think it's done yet? That's fine. Keep it going. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah, some people will keep them. I'm 6'7", and I've had collabs that I can hold over and above my head. They're that tall. Um, but yeah, so I guess the ideal thing would be that when it's finished, someone goes and finds a nice, shady, dry spot and just pastes it up and leaves it there. I mean, if they could get in there with some Mod Podge and seal it down, that'd be great, but that's not usually the case. So yeah,
Wow.
hopefully it goes up in the street for people to see, you know?
Wow. Wow. It's so interesting to kind of let your art out in the world, and then watch the life cycle of it, how it's progressing and going through other artists, and yeah, and like you at this point you kind of let go of your creative um authority,
Oh yeah.
and let it be, and evolve into whatever
Yeah.
it will evolve with other
Yeah.
people involved. So
With the
it's
nature
really
of
cool.
it, you kind of have to, when you draw something, you can't like, you can put your heart into it, but you can't hold on to it with your heart and say like, this is my pride and joy, please don't mess this up. You just have to say, I trust the community, I trust the people that are going to be in front of me with this, and that they'll do the right things with it.
This is a very interesting standpoint from and I don't know, I might have told you before, or in the group where we communicate with all together with other artists, that I'm geeking on psychology quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the thing in on this podcast that I do is I'm kind of collecting, different perspectives and different mindsets of different artists, and trust me, they all are like 100% different from one another,
Yeah.
but in the way you kind of can find that little thing that you can relate to. So I have spoken with many artists who are a little bit, like not a little bit, a lot different. They have different mindset about that. So this is
Mm-hmm.
this is my baby. I'm nurturing it. A lot of them have a hard time letting go. This is why many artists are not selling their originals. They're doing prints, because originals, like I have no storage, but I'm gonna store them for as long as I'm alive.
Yeah. Keep
That
this
kind
forever.
of stuff. So
Yeah.
in this situation, it's a 180-degree opposite thing, right? So how does this feel, that, like, in terms of your creative, I don't know if you can call it creative pride, um creative control,
Mm-hmm.
when you have to let it go and you have to go with the community, and what does community do to you in terms of how you feel as, like, in yourself, within
Mm-hmm.
yourself as an artist? So
Yeah.
what does that do to you?
um it's a good question. Let me think for a second. um at the beginning, I would say there was more concern of, I took this piece, especially when you get a collaborative piece, if you like really respect the artist before you that you got it from. I know a lot of people will say they don't even do collaborations because they're so nervous about laying down that first ink stroke, which I also think plays into why I'm now so confident when I do send them, because I know people have that respect. Like they don't want to just get in there and scribble and go, oh no, I messed up. Like, they want to really have an idea in their head before they even lay anything down. Um, and again, I think that comes from respect, and that's where, like, me releasing that agency of where this piece is going to go, and who's going to draw on it and in what style. That's where I've found myself comfortable releasing a lot of that control over my art. Um, and I do have a lot of, individual pieces that I make for myself. Print out my own individual stickers and everything like that, so I can get kind of, the volume, um, for marketing myself. Um, but as far as how that has affected me as an artist within the community, I've actually gained a lot of perspective on myself, um, because of that. I'm trying to think of how to word it. Um, it's funny, if you stay in anything for longer than I'd say 3+ years, you tend to be like an OG at that thing. Like if you're at a job for like 3+ years, they're like, oh, there's Jordan. He knows how all the ropes go. Go to him. He knows how.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
don't have to control him. It's kind of that thing. Um, and I've found that also within doing the stickers. Like I used to worry myself a lot more about who I was communicating with and if this thing was going to work out and whatnot. Um, Sorry, I'm moving around. I hear my leg fell asleep. Um, but yeah, I just find myself getting a lot of love from people and finding new little connections that I'm making with people. And it just really fulfills me so that when I am creating my art, it doesn't necessarily feel like I feel like I have that whole community at my side and behind my back. You know what I mean?
So can you tell that you gain more confidence and it kind of uh, negates your imposter syndrome if you ever had it? I don't
Oh
know if
yeah,
you I don't know if
yeah.
you did.
Yeah, no, because that guy reached out to me and I had no idea about the sticker community. I definitely had a big sense of imposter syndrome, and even now when I go set up at markets and stuff like that, I do feel more like an imposter. Just because there tends to be a lot of, I hate to make this differentiation, but like fine art versus, more like street art or whatever. Um, oh, I lost the question. I'm so sorry. Oh, giving me more confidence.
Confidence, yes.
Um, Yes, it absolutely has. Just the fact that there's been people I've reached out to that I thought you're you're gonna blow me off. Like, and not in a rude way, but like I know you got a lot going on. But people have reached back out to me and said that they equally admire my work and they want to work together. And I'm just like, whoa, like maybe I don't have to have so much worry. I mean, of course, I think it's natural, and I do think it's healthy for artists to have worry about the relevancy of what they're doing, because if you just completely ignore it, you're missing out on a human aspect of art in the community. But um, I definitely feel more confident enacting like my visions versus trying to mimic someone else's, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily worry about fitting my style in. I just understand that within the community, my work has its place and it's solid right now.
No, it sounds like a great support system.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God. I try to pump love back into it as much as I can. I try to repost all my friends, like my favorite artists, people I'm in communication with. I really try to breathe life back into it, as much as it did to me.
So for how long have you been doing sticker art?
Sticker art like this, the since 2017 or
Hmm.
so. Um,
So
Obviously,
you're OG, big
yeah,
time.
yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Because I've been doing it for 5 years now, people are like, "Oh man, like Key, you've been around since I did my first sticker." And maybe that was them being a freshman in high school, and now they're a freshman in college, and those are monumental 5 years versus me. Like I went from being 27 to now I'm about to be 32. It's a little bit different. I can stick with something for 5 years, and it's not like, oh my God, it's been 5 years. Um, but yeah, like there's, I'm not saying, I'm not claiming any crowns or anything within my community, but like just the sense of respect I get and the sense of my sense of responsibility for the community, I definitely feel like I want to put out the right vibes. You know what I mean? I don't, I don't, and one thing I want to comment on is that I hate, or I very much dislike, gatekeeping, because I know there's people who, you hear about other artist
Hmm.
stories and they'll say, hey, I reached out to so and so and they just talk trash about my art and said they would never work with me, or gave me some sort of, rude dismissive answer. Um, and that really bums me out. And a certain part of that comes from, there is a subset within the sticker community, because there's overlap with the graffiti community, and some of those people can be really, tough guys, tough girls, where if you're not
Territorial.
like, yeah, if you're not out in the streets spray painting and doing like, vandalizing stuff, then you shouldn't even be putting a sticker up on a stop sign. You know what I mean? So you do run into that, and I totally think it's unnecessary, and that's why I'm so grateful that, like, there is the separate communities. But unfortunately, I've seen some people really like tank their own, um, what's the word, desire to be in the stick community because of a bad response from someone they wanted to work with.
I see. Well, I have another question. Since priority mail stickers are now kind of a primary substrate that you and the whole community is working on, have you ever heard or suspected or in any way got in touch with the United States Postal Services that, I mean, are they aware that those things are going on?
Oh my
Are they
gosh.
trying to communicate with artists about it? How do they feel about it? Like, I have no idea. Or do they feel like this is a vandalism just like as graffiti for some people, or do they support it if
You
they
know,
even know?
it's funny, like they definitely know, because over the past few years they started out putting out, in their office, if you go into the post office, they put out less and less of the actual priority mail stickers, that people are going for. And then also between 2006 and 2008, when there was a big surge in sticker art, they changed the adhesive on the back of them to be less adhesive, because
Oh.
they used to be like, you stick it to something and it's not coming off, it's going to like chip away and be like that, kind of irritating. But then between 2006 and 2008, they made it so it's a lighter adhesive that'll come off a lot easier. So they're definitely aware, and they're like playing that little battle, um, but there's also been times where I walked into, a post office to send something, and I said, "Oh, I'm sending my friends some stickers." And the guy behind the counter, you know, he looked at his coworker. He said, "Oh, be careful. This is one of the guys that draws on our stickers." Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was very aware of it. Like, he said, "Watch out for this kid." And I was like, "Hey," you know. Um, so yeah, I mean, I've never run into any like legal issues or anything like that, but yeah, I think it probably depends on the person you run into. That particular guy clearly appreciated it and like knew, you know what I mean, and saw the
Uh-huh.
merits of it. But probably also depends on what kind of sticker art you run into. I think here in San Francisco Bay Area, we get a lot of, and especially if you go to like Seattle and Portland, you'll see a lot more like positive, or a larger variety of, sticker art, versus some places, if you're in the middle of somewhere, you might just see someone's name on a "Hello, my name is" sticker. And then you're
Hmm.
like, that's not art for me. And then that might paint your whole view of the whole thing. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, in general, the response is good. People are interested. They're interested in the format. They're just interested in the ingenuity, I guess, which is something I've always appreciated about it. Like, my supplies are free from the post office. So I can spend more money on my paint.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I feel like there's a potential for some kind of a collaboration slash campaign with the official U.S. Postal Service. Like
That would be
support
great.
artists, artists support USPS, USPS supports artists, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah. And
then
it's
if
interesting because I've known individual artists that will kind of recreate the look, on Photoshop of one of the priority mail stickers, but they'll like put their name in it or put different words where it says
mhm,
priority mail and stuff and just kind of use the template.
uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, that would be awesome if they did like an official one. You know what I mean? Have a specific artist write out the priority mail thing and then use that as the design for a while. Kind of
And
like
then yeah, they do it with artists for uh, the stamps.
that's exactly what I was thinking. I was
Yeah,
like, they do stamp series all the time. Why not do a sticker series? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
very
So okay,
yeah,
let's put it out in the universe.
yes.
Let's find
Post office
someone.
masters.
Yeah, let's find someone. So whoever is listening who has connections in the USPS, share this episode with them, please, because we need
Yeah,
to start that going because this
yeah,
is this is going to be a cool thing.
yeah. Let's work. You know what I mean?
Cool, awesome. So we are at the top of the hour already.
Oh wow,
Yeah, it
wow,
flew
that flew
by.
by.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular that you wanted to share today on a podcast that I didn't ask you?
Um, I guess one thing I always like whenever I have a platform is I like to mention mental health. I like to mention that it art is a great way to express yourself. And if you have health issues, which most of us do, and I'm not putting that on anyone, art is a great way to find communities to release some of the pressure you're feeling. You may not know me, but people can always feel free to reach out to me. And I always want to push that mental health issues are normal. I especially work within the men's mental health um, field, so I always like to push that. That yeah, people should not be afraid or ashamed of their feelings, but feel free to reach out to people. And again, if you don't know anyone, now you know me. Feel free to reach out.
I'm totally with you on that, and I think if we continue this conversation, we can talk for another couple hours for
Yes,
sure, for sure.
absolutely.
But
Yeah, yeah.
I have to ask you, why is it so important? Why mental health is such an important topic for you?
You know, growing up, not that I had a terrible upbringing, but as I get older, I look back and I realize that me having a sleepless night as an 8-year-old was anxiety, and me not being able to speak in front of class and having wet hands all the time was anxiety. And then me not being able to talk about that to other people or people making fun of me for it led me to having depression and disconnecting myself in certain ways from people that now only when I'm, entering my 30s and I'm able to go back and realize that my body and brain were just responding to things, and I wasn't taking it on myself to help myself in those ways.
Yeah, and then as a 8-year old, you probably you don't have knowledge and you don't have a language to talk about it.
Right, right. You just think like, oh, I couldn't sleep last night, and my brain wouldn't shut off. And now, I totally realize it. And within the mental health world, I throughout my whole life, I've had male friends say to me that they can't speak to people about the things they speak about to me, or that I'm the only one that they've spoken to about things like this. And I was raised by very strong women, so I've always, not that women are only emotional, I don't mean that, but I've always been very okay with sharing my emotions, crying to my mom, crying to my grandma, anything like that. So I feel like I bring that to people, and it surprises me that they don't have that. And that's what really made me realize, like, I need to push for this. I want this to be something I push on every time I get a chance, because it's insidious. Everyone deals with it. I the most well put together financially successful looking, people I know, like they're a mess inside. And I'm like, whoa, you're just very high functioning at your job, but you're still,
Not happy.
down in the dumps, like I can get.
Yeah.
I just have a harder time hiding it. So yeah, it's become very important to me. Yeah, especially in the past decade or so. People warn you about your teenage years, but nobody warned me about my 20s. And those were rough.
Yep.
uh,
Yep. Well, I'm totally with you on that. And yeah, unfortunately, mostly in a Western society, for a man being able to show their vulnerability and emotions is kind of still carries a sort of a stigma.
yeah,
Yeah, and I don't know. I have many theories about that. And just this morning, I spoke with my friend about it. That I guess society is structured the way that w- with the outlook on the bigger picture, like how the mass of people is functioning together and communicating together, but there is no emphasis on the like a very personal level, on the individual, right?
right,
So we are growing up without being able to discuss those things, without being given the opportunity to learn more about ourselves, or given the tools to process those things. And a lot of us who are I consider myself lucky, and I consider like people like you lucky when
hmm,
in your 20s you start actually asking questions about what's going on with me, and opening doors for yourself, like by seeking help,
right,
or yeah, trying to gain a little bit more awareness of what is actually going on with me, how
right,
it's affecting me, how it's affecting people around me, how it's affecting my relationships, how it's affecting my community.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
it's a and as I said, we can talk for another couple hours
right,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, of
It's
course. Thank you so
it,
much for having me. I'm very excited to talk to you. Yeah,
yeah, it's been a treat.
yeah, it flew by. Jeez.
Absolutely, absolutely, as it always does. It's always a surprise for me. It's like, okay, what I'm going to talk to this person for the whole hour. I have
Yeah,
one question, and that one question kind of unwraps itself into a whole interesting conversation.
yeah. There you
That's
go.
awesome.
Yeah,
Well, thank you so much, Key.
of
And
course.
I will see you next time in the art scene.
All right.
Bye. It has been another episode of In the Art Scene podcast. If you liked today's conversation, please give us a good review on Apple. And go listen to other great stories. Check out our website intheartscene.com, or follow us on Instagram at intheartscene for more content. If you are a creative and you want to share your story, shoot us a message from the website or DM us on Instagram. Look forward to seeing you next time in the art scene.